Hey everybody, it's Zafir from No Love Lost 2.0, and I got Moses on the line. Let's talk about it. Make sure y'all come check out the show.
It's just exactly what you said. You know, every time a person comes to me, it's always something going on. Like, can we speak about other things? Can we speak about different things? What positive things are going on in your life? Like, what are you doing that's making you happy? Like, what else?
And that's what it is. It's just like they only like even the last time I talked to him, Devin here from New York, he was just calling me to tell me about his mental issues and his depression. And I'm not saying I can't be there for you as a friend, but what I'm saying is if the only time you come to me is when you are in a storm, I don't want to be that friend that's only there for when you're in a storm.
No,
You know, I want to be that friend that you genuinely just check up on and you like, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Oh, life's good over here too. Why every time I talk to certain people, it's just so negative or something bad happening or they need advice on how to fix something bad. It's just like, damn, it's like sometimes people don't even call and just say, how you doing?
yeah, you know, yeah, I, I think like what plays a role is it how you kind of figured out how to deal with situations and deal with people and other people that just haven't gotten there yet. So I guess they just kind of figured it out on their own, or you have already did. So that could be a part of it.
Yeah, and the major thing is like, and I'm not ashamed of it. Most of my life, I pretty much, other than with God, I pretty much figure out everything by myself. You know, like prior to being with Maurice, I pretty much always have figured out things by myself.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm really not the friend that's gonna call people for advice, and it's not that I don't want to be. It's that people haven't made me feel comfortable enough to do that, because I could be talking about something, and then it turns into what's going on with them or what's wrong with them. Yeah. So then I'm like, so what else is going on with you, friend? Where that happy? And I fall into that, and then I say, oh, I know not to call you again. When I'm going out with something something bad or something some type of turmoil.
Whatever. Yeah, I get it. Or have you tried calling them the way they call you? Like, let's say they call you and they go, "Oh, how you doing?" Anyway, and how they are. Have you tried to that to them to see how they react?
Of course I have, but that's why I don't do it now. Everybody gets a chance. I'm not a person who wouldn't try. But when I realize a pattern in the behavior, I just be like, all right, cool.
Oh, like the for example, maybe like house break it. Like this is also quiet, like yo, this was going on. And then he's like, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm at to make a move. My friend, it can come off like I hear you, but I don't really care. Now talk.
Exactly. Like there's things that be happening with me that the only people that know about it is Maurice and me. Oh, and Jasmine, because certain things, I just be like, it ain't even worth it for me to tell people because it's like, one, I don't need you to fix it. I just sometimes need you to listen. And I do appreciate, like, every time I talk to you, you always say, so what's going on with you, friend? See, that's what you're supposed to do. If I'm only hearing about your shit and you don't care about mine, then it's just like I'm never gonna share.
Yeah. And and then that's normal. And this boy has said the same thing. But it's I was like, but with this boy, it's kind of it's kind of like the reason why I over talk is because when I give you that space, you make the choice not to say anything. So do I hang up or do I talk myself? But if you're gonna portray me to be someone that don't listen to you, then if you don't want to talk, I'm just gonna hang up. So then when you finally ask me, oh, why don't you do that? Then you can kind of see that maybe it's just you that doesn't want to open up.
Yeah. And then that's a different whole that's a whole different situation then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's pretty much why, like I said, it's not even on some mess. That's why I just pretty much just be like, no, I'm good. Or people be like, oh, what's going on? By the time you ask me what's going on, I don't even care to tell you.
Mhm.
And I try to get out of that mindset, you know. I try to get out of that mindset because I don't want that to always be my experience, you know. But I have to choose how I choose to engage with individuals who don't meet the criteria of respect that I have for myself.
Yeah, 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 I do agree with that. Um, again, I've also learned from you that, like, that, I had to tell Lizette's daughter, Stephanie, when I was thinking about her and her childhood friends, the two girls, the two twins that she was like really, really cool with back in the past.
Mhm.
Um, we was thinking about that for a brief period yesterday. And I asked her, I said, are you okay with, the dynamic that you have now where y'all don't speak to each other? She was, yeah, I'm okay with it. And I'm like, are you sure you're okay with it? Or or no one hasn't really communicated and you just kind of accepted what was and what is. And then she told me little things here and there. And I told her, I said, my friend from North Carolina, because obviously she never met you and stuff like that. So I told her, I said, you know, he is a big advocate for communication. So don't you think, because she said that maybe it was her when she moved to and when she moved, to England, because her man was in the military. Like so they were stationed in England or whatever. Even though she said she came down and she went to spend time with them or whatever. But I told her, I said, uh, so if you think maybe it was you, that maybe it would have been appropriate to kind of reach out and say, hey, can we talk on the phone? Kind of like, hey, what, are you okay? Is anything going on? Because I know, life has life and things have changed, but like we don't really hang out no more. We don't have, talk no more. Like, do you feel like maybe there could have been a time where that could have happened? And she's like, yeah, but this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Like I'm not I was like, I was like, all right, I'm not gonna poke the bear too much because if she's kind of accepting what is and she's kind of deflecting, it's not much she's gonna do. And
Mm.
even if I do prove all the points, we should do it anyways. Now, because it's been so many years, it's like a teaching old dog new tricks type of situation. So, we went into that. And she was like, like the last time they invited me, to an event, and I wasn't able to go because it was slowing up state. And after that, like we never really spoke again. But sometimes, they'll interact with the Facebook posts here and there. I never met their child. I never went to any of their birthday parties, blah blah blah. And I was just like,
It sounded like she accepted that part of her life is over.
well, which is understandable because she has mentioned that they was at a standstill, and I didn't get to bring up what you brought up in a podcast, and you brought up to me as well, that you didn't do nothing wrong, but I'm just not in that part of life anymore. I'm moving on. So it could have been that situation where yes, she got married and she moved out with him, to whatever station that he was at, had a child, started a family, and all of a sudden graduated to this mature space where they wasn't in. So then I have not done anything wrong, but it's just not you anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just different phases of life, you know? That's why when you sent me the post about, Scorpios at 16 and early adulthood are out in the streets and out, like, we outside. I said, "Yes, I very much was outside. You couldn't keep me inside." Like, I used to start my partying on Thursdays and end it on Sunday nights, but different things happen as you grow older, not just growing older, different different life experiences sometimes draw you away from people.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean neither person did anything wrong. It just sometimes you just grow apart, and that's it.
Yeah, so it was more like, yes, she has accepted, but what if the communication happened? What if other things happen? Like, you know, y'all guys can still be okay while entering different, like you said, entering different phases of the life. Like, it might not be the same anymore. Like, let's say if they were party types and you grew out of that, that doesn't mean you no longer talk to each other again. It could just be a different dynamic. But, I was just like you should just talk to each other. Just talk and and kind of figure it out. Be- And the reason why I said that was because that happened with me and Jeanette, where I kind of accepted what was because she was going through her situation. I accepted what was, and what was is became what is until that very moment, like a month, like over a little month ago. I think I told you about the situation
Yeah.
that she was like, "Oh, I know it's 3, 4 days, but Happy New Year's." Anyways, um, you did zip car. That that was the moment that changed because I read it and I said, "Now you will no longer treat me this way. 'Cause how dare you? How dare you text me out of nowhere about a damn zip car? How dare you?"
But people, that's when people reach out sometimes is when it's beneficial. They don't call just to say, "Hey, how you doing?" That's why I said I'm more likely to help somebody that calls me just to see how I'm doing versus somebody that only calls me. Like, I think I told you about that girl who kept saying that I was her child's godfather that lives down here, and I said, "No, the fuck I'm not." That's always asking me for money. Remember, she stopped asking me for money. She stopped asking me for money, but she texts me randomly out of nowhere and said, I'm gonna read you what she said. She said, "I need a favor. I know you ain't gonna give money to people and stuff, but I really need a favor. I start work at my new job tonight. I don't have gas. Is there any way you can loan me a couple of dollars until next week? Like $50 until next week. I know this is random, a random text, but I've been trying to figure out gas all day so I can get some rest because I have to work at 11." I never responded. Why would you text me that when I haven't talked to you, I think since the beginning of the year or last year? Yeah, it was the beginning of the year that was the last time I talked to her. And not only that, the only thing was she congratulated me on the wedding, and that was it. So why do you feel comfortable? People feel comfortable asking for stuff when they need it, but they don't call for no other reasons. They act like you not important on their map. And then people could say, "Oh, well, I have kids. I'm married now," or this. Those are all excuses. I don't give a fuck how busy you are because there's people way busier than you that still take people take out the time in the day for the people they care about.
And guess what? And it's just that simple.
So you not gonna give your niece the money?
You know, I texted her.
Uh-huh.
I said I have to think about this. I cannot say yes or no right now. Because I asked her first, because she wrote me 2 long paragraphs, and I said, "How much you asking for?" I didn't say, "Oh, hey, fat, hey, fees. Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh my God." So, nope. I said, "How much you asking for?" Because you do all these 2 paragraphs for what? Now, like you did not respect me enough to give me not even $5 every week. To say, you know what, I can give you it in full because I'm struggling to pay my rent bills and toiletries and other things. So you know what, can I give you $5, $10 like every week or so? I wouldn't have said no.
It's the effort.
You know, so you send me these 2 paragraphs for me to what to feel sorry for you. I'm past that now. So that's why I was like, how much you asking for? She said, "My father's paying half, like 600. I'm paying the other half 600. If you could give me like 700, right now, and I promise, when I get back to New York, whatever money I owe you, I'll get back to you."
But how you gonna do that? Because is she gonna stay there to June, or is she gonna leave before the lease is up?
Chris told me that. She did not tell me that. So if she did not tell me that, that's not my business.
The only reason why
I'm
I asked is
focusing on
because
her.
there's no point in giving her the money if she's gonna need the money again in another month. It's gonna be
So,
it's gonna be the same situation all the way to June.
so you want me to help you pay your rent all the way to June, and then so you come back here to New York City. To me, it's just basically like a waste of money.
That is literally, if that's the case, girl, just move back to get yourself on the bus and just get back to New York and say F it. Yeah, you gonna break a lease, but the thing about it is, if you struggling to pay for rent and you gotta borrow, and knowing you realistically are not gonna be able to pay that back no time soon because you're not gonna have no job when you get back here. You're gonna be back underneath your parents' roof. You're not gonna be able to move how you want, like you were. Like you gotta be like more realistic. What she need to do is talk to the landlord, say, "Hey, I need to break my lease. How much do I have to pay to get out the lease?" Because she'll probably save more money breaking the lease than staying in it. I'm just saying that's the if you gotta leave and you know you can't afford the next 3 months, wouldn't it just make more sense just to get it over with?
Yeah. So and I told Chris, I said, like over here in New York City, you can kind of just like not pay rent for like 1 month or whatever, and just gotta use that money to move out. And then she was like, "Well, her other aunt is a co-signer, so even whatever she does, it'll go straight to her."
Yeah, well, she need to open her mouth up. Because the thing about it is just like, well, she lived in North Carolina, and one thing about North Carolina, I'll tell you this, they'll put your ass out in 7 days. They don't do like New York. They don't do like, oh, you get a month, you know what I mean? Or you get 2 months. No. North Carolina, I've evicted a tenant before. They put you out in 7 days. They don't play that shit.
But now I'm thinking about it. Your aunt was a co-signer. Obviously, she lives around nearby. You tell me you can't stay with her? You can't stay with her? Or why you coming to New Hold on. You just made me think now.
Come on now, think about it.
You know what? She want me to call her. You want to be on mute or you busy?
I'm free. Go ahead. I'll mute myself.
All right.
Hey, everybody, make sure you continue to listen to No Love Lost 2.0. We're available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, as well as YouTube. Continue to show love to the page. This episode is about not allowing yourself to get caught up in people's life when it has nothing to do with you. It's okay to let things go. It's okay to let people go. And it's okay to also respect the fact that you don't want to do what you don't want to do. And don't be pressured. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.